traders, Gary Wagner here, just after 10:30 in Honolulu, 4:30 in New York on Tuesday, the first day of July 2014, and this is the daily report for gold and silver. We have a quiet day in the precious metals markets, with gold currently trading off about $1 on the day, 1325.72. It has had a low of 1323 and a high of 1332. I think that high is significant. We'll talk about that in a second. Silver currently trading up about 1 cent on the day. You can see it's just hanging on to $21 per ounce ever so slightly. It has had a low of 20.89 and a high of 21.27. More on silver towards the end of the show. As we have mentioned over the last couple of days, there's no doubt but going into the Independence Day holiday here on the mainland should offer a little bit of quietness in terms of volatility and volume. We should have a reduction in volume, and we are getting very, very quiet action in the market. Now, the equities market is up. Gold has been really unchanged to up a couple of dollars all through the trading night. We're looking at a daily chart. On this daily chart, it's in Japanese average format. We are still solid green. There's no doubt. We've not seen a red candle on our daily chart. The body size has actually grown a little bit because realize we compare it to the midpoint of the prior candle. And this on a daily chart, when we get these quiet days, the midpoint will tend to consolidate. We did have a decent rise in the precious metals markets yesterday. So even with that unchanged day, we now have that new midpoint. And so when we convert it back to a standard candlestick chart, it becomes much more evident, of course, this being yesterday's move, Monday's move right here. And what we've talked about really throughout the last couple of weeks, and really since this market hit this bottom, of course, this bottom being just at around 1240, we've talked about the fact that the market shoots up and then trades sideways, shoots up, trades sideways. And we've seen this action throughout the last couple of weeks. And if anything, these cycles in between the times in which the market will actually genuinely trend higher has been getting longer. So for example, you have 1 or 2 days here, you have 1 day here, here you have 1, 2, 3, 4 days in terms of a rest period. Then we get that $40 spike and we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days now in which we saw the market consolidating, and then lo and behold, yesterday we trade above that top. And that's what's significant to me right now. There's a couple of things we want to note. The first thing is we talked about the fact that we do have true support in the market, I believe roughly at around 1311 at this point. The number to take out is 1331. As I had mentioned last week, I really didn't see a big issue getting over 21. 21 to me was a very, very minor level, although when we were caught in the muck here and the market was trading quietly, unchanged, so to speak, in terms of its closing basis, it was not as easy as I thought it would first be. But then yesterday, lo and behold, we got the market trending up about $10. And the key is this. We really want to take a look at the 1331 level, because that is where I'm really pegging our current level of resistance. It's based on this top right here, and if we basically just draw in a horizontal line, it's quite evident and quite easy to see this top here, and seeing that we're actually had made a play, because the top today, I believe, what did we say, was 33, so a couple of dollars below that or above that. Now, Steve Nissan has labeled this type of move in the market a scouting party. Now, Steve, of course, is another candlestick guy like myself. He came before me. He actually was one of my mentors and inspiration. But a scouting party is not a candlestick pattern, but rather what it is in a market that's moving up and is facing a challenge of a pretty substantial resistance area. Bulls will run into the market and test the fortitudes of the bears, and the scouting parties are simply highs that you will start to see above this particular resistance area, and as it moves above it, and when it actually forms any kind of closing action at or above this line, he calls that a beachhead. In other words, the scouting party was successful. They were able to land at and above this the former resistance, and the beachhead is basically saying that it's becoming support. Now, we're certainly not seeing that yet. However, if we are going to see this market move higher, that is probably one of the ways that we'll see that activity unfold. Today's action, you can see, is very, very quiet candle. It's another doji, and once again, it wouldn't surprise me that much now to see the market consolidate again just below this area, just prior to breaking above. In a best case scenario, that in fact is what I would look for. You know, obviously there are markets that we follow very, very closely to get some sort of indication, some idea, some insight into the future price in terms of gold prices. Looking at the dollar index, it's a weekly chart. You can see that once hitting this top just at around 81, we had the market come under pressure for the last 3 weeks. It has been trending lower. Of course, a lower dollar is significant because we are pairing gold with the dollar, so a lower dollar is always going to give a positive push to gold in terms of prices. Of course, major supports at 79, but you have some real, I would call it the bottoms here at about 79, 75, right in that area, and this of course is our 14-week moving average here. So traders, we can really see the current level of resistance when we start looking at our intraday or variable charts, of course. And what we're seeing is this. This is a 360-minute chart, Japanese average format. No doubt we talked about 1311, that being a strong level of support now. Very, very much resistance here. Very, very much support in this area. Market comes up, and we talked about this minor level, and this being 1321. And really what we can see is we had a series of tops, and this would be in a micro level, that kind of a scouting party in which we see the market really genuinely trending above this, but right in here, but closing below. So it really took a little bit of effort for it to break through there. And then once it did, this is our beachhead, and we are now actively looking at 1321 as having some sort of support in the market rather than resistance. For that to hold true, we would have to see on a closing basis this market stay above there. Now, the next real level, of course, is 1331. It's based on this top here that came back in April of this year. And it certainly is some real resistance in this area. And this is where I pegged resistance when we actually put the trade on. So when this market was trading at this particular point here at 1303, when we put the trade on, this was my basic strategy and target, was to hit these numbers roughly at 31. I even said yesterday, if you want to, you can put a price order in 30.31. You would have gotten out today with a decent profit. My sense right now is going into this 4th of July weekend, we have a significant opportunity to see the market form a base, but my real question is this. We've had quite a move. When you consider 1241 to 13, call it 2131. So we've had the kind of move that's almost a $100 move, but in real strong rallies in gold, we typically get $200 out of the rally. So we could certainly still have some steam left in this particular rally, and that's what we want to see. How that unfolds, whether or not we'll see it break above this, because if it does, it really is going to signal some higher prices, maybe as high as 1390, because 1391, that's the real target that we need to take out. That is, once we breach this, really the next real major top we would be looking at. So where are we pegging our current resistance and support in silver? Pulled up our weekly chart to give it that macro view, of course. And what I'm looking at really is when we take a look at this particular top right here, comes in right at around $22, just above that. Let me try to put it in as straight as possible. That's going to be ultimate resistance right now. We talked about that a couple of months ago, that really, in terms of a technical basis, there's not a lot of areas. The only other area that I can see right now is the market opens and closes here, and then opens here and then closes here. So as the market traded, this could become a minor level of support, and that's sitting at around, what, 2140 maybe? We're at 2102. So these are the levels that I'm looking at currently in terms of upside resistance in silver. This has been Gary Wagner, wishing you, as always, good trading. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Wednesday for another daily update and review. Bye-bye.